So I'm going to pause for a moment for those of you who are just here for the loops and scoops, and then we're going to make a slight shift to love and action with one of our impeccable deck cards. Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so for those of you who are still here, one of the reasons that I've added the integrity deck to our skills is because I've been wondering for a while now, how do we structure our society in a way that supports us all experiencing our agency, our ability to respond, and our ability to collaborate with each other. So you may have noticed that our structures have been kind of failing. You know, how do you know what's true? How do you know if you have an agreement with somebody? What do you do about all the feelings? And so our integrity deck, which we've been working with for several decades, will give you the skills to create a new infrastructure. I believe we're in another infrastructure week, one of our many infrastructure weeks here in the States. So, a genuine infrastructure upgrade will come through practicing integrity skills because integrity is all about wholeness, experiencing yourself as a totality and unbroken wholeness with nothing wanting. That's what integrity is. It's not about morality, it's not about right or wrong, it's about you feeling your wholeness as you move around in the world. And so today I wanted to deal with one of the cornerstones, one of the four pillars, which is impeccable agreements. And impeccable agreements allow you to actually get things done while maintaining and supporting your wholeness. So, for this experiment, I'd like you to think of a complaint that you've had recently. So, what would be helpful is a complaint, something that you've complained about three or more times that hasn't changed. So, it could be a complaint with yourself. So, this is not necessarily an agreement with others, it could be an agreement with you. It could be an agreement with another person, it could be an agreement with a group, family. So choose a complaint because I want you to have something to play with. And just to feel the adrenaline of that, I'd like you to go ahead and complain about it out loud so you can hear yourself. And I'd like you to use what the whiny tone, the indignation, whatever it is, that the way that you complain, go ahead and do that because again, you're clearing the pipes. So take a moment and complain. And then I'd like you to notice as you're complaining how that impacts your aliveness. So just notice, do you get more aliveness, less aliveness? Yeah, okay. So I'd like to, Michelle, can we bring the card up now from Impeccable Agreements? Yeah, beautiful. So first, just look at the collage and notice how your body responds to that. Notice something opens, you get any images inside, memories, if it reminds you of anything. So this particular card has to do with shifting from complaints to requests. And I know that sounds very simple. All of the integrity skills actually are actionable. In other words, they're not just wishes or intentions, they are actions that anybody could take. And so the sentence is, I make clear, direct requests that include a by when instead of airing generalized complaints. And so notice how I'll say it once more, and then just notice how your body responds to the statement. I make clear, direct requests that include a by when instead of airing generalized complaints. And how you'll know they're generalized is they'll have always and never. Why do you always? How come you never? That's a complaint. And complaints activate more of the fear center in our brain and body, whereas requests will notice what they open up. So the question, how can I make a conscious agreement here? So with your complaint, I'd like you to just be wondering out loud for yourself, or you can write it down. What's a request I can make about this? So underneath a complaint is often a request that hasn't been made. So instead of complaining about, you are so messy, I request that you put your clothes in the hamper rather than on the floor. And then the by when, see, that's often what we leave out. We float out a request and then head the other direction before the other person can respond, because we don't want to hear the other person's what their feelings are, or their complaint about us, or their counter request, or their na. So we kind of make a request, but then wander off. So the by when is really important. So the what and the by when. In fact, go ahead and write down what and by when, because that's the important thing. So the request, we can go ahead and let the picture, we come on back to the screen now. Michelle, thanks a lot. I love how we're able to do this with technology. It's so great. So underneath your complaint is a request. So with the example that I was using, so I could say, I'd like you to, my request is that you put your clothes in the hamper rather than on the floor. But notice there was no by when there. So I got the what, but I forgot the by when. So I request that you put your clothes in the hamper rather than on the floor when you take them off. So that's my request. Now, the other part of this is, did the other person say, yes, I will. No, I won't. I didn't. What was that? So one of the things Gay and I used to do is that we would make requests or communicate to each other as one person was walking out the room. So one thing to be aware of is, have I actually presenced with this person? Are we giving and receiving attention? But for your purposes right now, I'd like you to take a moment and write down what would be a request. Now, I want you to, you're probably thinking, oh, it's not possible, or, I need to do these other things first. So you might realize that you got some fear attached with doing this. So let's go ahead and add in some fear melters. We've got some oozing, we have wiggling, we have sumo, we have love scoops. And I'd like you, while you're doing fear melters, to wonder about, what do I really want? What is a request about this complaint? And you might not even have gotten to that because you've been more focused on being upset than on shifting to, what do I want, and making a request about that. So you may go through several levels of fear. And then when you've turned that fear juice into creative juice, let yourself wonder about, what is a simple request that I can make about this. And if you got an example of something that you came up with, you can write it in the chat so other people could share it. Like, I shifted, here was my complaint, and here's the request I shifted it into. That would be lovely. And if some of those show up on the chat, then Michelle can read them at the end here, so that we have some examples. So when I learned how to shift from complaining, and that was mostly in my head. See, when I do that and when you do that, I get disconnected. So I'm no longer present to me and I'm no longer connected to you. So when I'm complaining, I isolate. So not only am I not getting what I want, but I'm not giving and receiving attention, which is the juice that all of us really need and want right now. The nourishment of attention. So when you shift into willingness to make a request, we could even start with that. Let me take some water here. Phlegm. I'm appreciating that the increased moisture in my lungs are like, okay, time for letting go of some of this phlegm. So see if you would be willing to turn your complaints into requests. So just try that on. I'm willing to turn my complaints into requests. Requests for myself, requests from the, and I'm willing to follow up with a what and a by when. So that would be a great place to start, is I'm willing to turn my complaints into requests. So when you try that on, just notice I feel a kind of lightness and an expansion, especially up here. It sort of frees up my neck and my head so I can really make contact. Yeah, beautiful. So that's our exploration for today. Thank you so much for being with us. And how about everybody can unmute themselves and you can make your appreciation sounds if you'd like, or your complaint sounds, or just make sounds for a minute or so before we all go on about our lives. And I'll look forward to your sharing what you've learned. So, mwah. Thank you so much. Lovely to see your faces and see you're moving.
Love you. Katie.
Yeah, love you. Love you. Love you.
Wow.
Take care.